Okay, so we're going to start from lying down today. When you lie down, make sure you've got enough space around you for your arms to go out at shoulder height and for them to go up above your head and kind of drag your arms all the way down by your side. So a little bit of space all the way around you. When you settle yourself onto your mat, onto the floor, then settling yourself somewhere that feels comfy. Because you're looking for space around your head and your arm area, it's absolutely fine if you want to put your legs up onto the sofa, the chair, the bed, anything at all. It's absolutely fine, because then you settle with your back, and we can work with the arms a little bit. We'll move later, but it's fine to sit your legs up if you fancy that. Anything at all. So once you're into your comfy lying down position, perhaps you have a couple of big sighing out breaths. Always quite nice to make some sound with that sighing out breath. There's something that really does let go when you add a bit of sound and a big sigh. And begin to notice the shape that you're making on the mat, on the floor underneath you. And with each out breath, imagine that shape is becoming a little bit bigger. So it's like you're melting down into the floor. Noticing anywhere in your body where you're holding on to something, a little bit of tightness, a little bit of something. It could be in your joints, it could be in those big connected muscles between joints, being aware of what's happening and letting everything soften and ease. Allowing yourself to melt down into the floor. Take your awareness to your breath. Notice where you notice your breath. As the body softens and eases and settles, notice that the breath can become a touch slower and softer and longer. You can release anything that you're holding around your abdomen, and notice that you can breathe into your tummy. We know that we don't, but it's almost like you do, isn't it? Where you get that sense of the lifting and the lowering of the abdomen with the in and the out breath. And when you take your focus to the abdomen and the in and the out breath, then perhaps there's that sense of quite deliberately slowing the breath down a little more. You can follow the journey of the breath as it comes in at the nostrils, moves through the throat, the ribs move, and then the abdomen moves. So already, by taking the focus to the breath, you begin to take your focus inwards a little to yourself on your mat, being here for your yoga practice, and giving yourself permission to move in the right way for you and to be on your mat in the right way for you, whether that's full of energy and strength, whether it's an easing, soft, gentle moving, maybe a combination of both at different points through the class. And take your awareness to your arms, just noticing the position of your arms, noticing perhaps if there's anything in your shoulders, your neck, your upper back that feels a little bit tight or sore. So if there's soreness or injury, move your arms ever so gently and carefully when we do things. But perhaps what they need is that lovely movement to lengthen the muscles and create a bit more softness. Have a little wiggle of your fingers just to wake the arms up a touch. Your awareness goes to your hands with your next in-breath, floating the arms up and reaching for the ceiling. With an out-breath, let the arms feel heavy in their shoulder sockets. With an in-breath, float the arms above your head to the floor, anywhere that's comfy. With an out-breath, drag your arms along the floor in two big semicircles so your arms come back down by your side. Breathe in, float the arms up and reach for the ceiling. Breathe out, arms heavy in their pockets. Breathe in, arms above the head to the floor. Breathe out, dragging the arms either side of your body in a big semicircle. Breathe in, taking the arms up, reach for the ceiling. Breathe out, dropping the arms into their shoulder pockets. Breathe in, take the arms above your head to the floor. And breathe out, drag your arms down by your side. A couple more of those in your breathing speed. Dragging your arms along the floor until they come back down by your side. Notice how shoulders are feeling. And the next time your arms come down by your side, making that your last one. And notice your arms, your neck, your upper back. So with an out breath, gently turn your head and look to the right. With an in breath, gently lift the gaze back to the ceiling. With an out breath, gently turn the head to the left. And with an in breath, lift your gaze back to the ceiling. A couple more of those to each side. So breathing out, taking the gaze over to one side. And as you bring the head back to look towards the ceiling, imagine there's somebody's hand just lifting with the cheek on the other side of your face and bringing your head back to centre. If we imagine that somebody's helping us do that, we use the muscles slightly differently in the neck. Super. So when you've done a couple to each side, letting your head rest with your gaze up to the ceiling. So be aware of your arms again and point your fingers as much as you can. Keeping your arms heavy on the floor, point your fingers as much as you can to your feet. And then let your arms flop. Point your fingers down towards your feet and let your arms flop. Point your fingers down towards your feet and then let your arms flop. Take your head and roll your head to look to the right. Leave it there, let gravity do its thing. Be aware of your left arm and point your fingers down towards your feet. Reaching towards your feet. Arms quite heavy on the floor, but there's a lot of effort. And notice that work down the side of the neck. Then let the arm flop. Put somebody's imaginary hand just on your cheek and lift your head back so you gaze at the ceiling and gently lower your head to the other side. Let gravity do its thing for a little moment. Awareness to your right arm and reach your fingers towards your toes. Breathing, reaching fingers towards your toes. And then let that arm flop. That imaginary hand on your left cheek lifts your head and rolls it back so that your gaze is up to the ceiling again. Lovely. So we need to have a little wiggle about, and if you've got your legs up on something like the sofa or the bed, you need to have a little wiggle about so that you've got space for your feet to be flat to the floor with your knees bent, but still a little bit of space for your arms around you as well. So knees bent, feet flat to the floor, arms out to angel, velcro your knees and your ankles together. Use an out breath to lower your knees down to one side. Use an in breath to lift your knees up. And use an out breath to lower your knees down towards the floor on the other side. Just a little bit of exploration as to where the spine wants to move. So tilting the pelvis, which will send a sort of twisting ripple down the spine. Super. So having a quick think, which way did your legs go first? And then doing the other side as your last one, hugging your knees up to your chest. Having a little rock there. And once you've had a little rock around on your back, roll yourself onto your right hand side with your knees drawn up level with your pelvis. And have your legs stacked on top of one another. Arms out at shoulder height with your palms facing one another and your head was resting on the floor. So if your shoulders, your neck, your upper back are happy, we let the head rest on the floor. So same height as the rest of us, as we, the rest of our body is what I mean by that. If your neck really doesn't like this and you're looking after things in your neck, then popping your head onto a pillow, a cushion, is absolutely fine. So imagine that it's 3 in the morning, you've been asleep, there's been a sound that just has woken you slightly, so you've got that very groggy feeling. So dragging your left hand over your right arm, drag it across your chest, let your elbow come to the floor and then open up your arms to angel arms, and then bend the elbow of your left arm, bring the hand to the shoulder, slide it across the chest and all the way down the right arm. And keeping that movement going as soft and as floppy as you can be. And as you do it, notice what's happening with the head. So the head might want to lift, So it might want to lift to protect things in your neck and your shoulders, in which case that's when you need to be putting a pillow or a cushion under your head. If the head's wanting to lift because things are really quite tight around the neck and the shoulders, use your out breath as you get to that point where the head wants to lift. And that kind of sighing out breath that hopefully lets things soften. And the head just rolls. So once your palms are together, you're gazing at your hands stacked on top of one another. Once your arms go out to angel arms, your head is rolled and your gaze is towards your left arm. So everything's just super, 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 super floppy. Brilliant. So one place we hold tightness in our vertebrae is up around the neck and the shoulders. Next time your hands come together, just be there for a couple of in and out breaths. Use your sighing out breath to let your waistline come down to the floor. So the other place that we hold quite a lot of tension and tightness is in the lower back. So let everything feel really soft. And then drag your left arm again, keeping that mid part of your body, so the lower back, really, really soft as well. So we've created some softness around the neck and the shoulders, but we're also looking to create that softness around the lower back. There's a lot of talk of yoga being about stretching. If we try and fight with and stretch muscles, that's when we potentially injure them, because they're going to tighten up to protect themselves from us forcing them into a stretch. With the movement that we're doing now, we're letting the body really soften so the muscle tissue can lengthen. So the outcome still feels like it's, I guess, that notion of stretching, but what we're doing is doing it in a completely different way that allows it to soften, therefore feel like it gets longer and easier to move. Brilliant. So next time your hands come together, we're going to change this movement to be the rainbow one above your head. So the left arm sweeps in a big arc, a half circle. Your fingers stay as close to the floor as you can keep them. So imagine that your fingers are crayons. You've got this big rainbow to colour in above your head. Your head rolls, your shoulders roll. So the end position and the start position are exactly the same as the last movement you were doing, but you're moving the arm differently. We get to lengthen the muscles into the armpit and down the side of the body, across the front of the chest a little bit. Wherever it feels tight, breathe out and be super floppy. Brilliant. So next time your arms are together, stay there just for a moment and hug your knees as tight up to your body as you can get them. And then use your right arm to hold on to your legs. So you can kind of bring your arm kind of over the top of the legs and hug and really squeeze the legs in tight. Then lift your left arm up, reach your fingers to the ceiling. So you're going to lower the arm, the left arm, with the upper arm near to your ear on the left side. So you roll the upper back, you're gazing at the ceiling and a little bit over to the left. Your upper back, your shoulders are heading towards the floor. And you've got this wonderful turning. So the arm is right above your head. If your head's at number 12 on a clock, that arm is moving. Angel arms, your arms are at 3 and 9. So this arm that's floating up is up to the number 12. Palm faces the ceiling, and encourage that arm to dangle in space all the way to the floor. Lowering the arm to the floor next to your ear. So your upper arm comes next, brilliant, that's it. And then use your out breath to encourage your upper back, your shoulders, to come towards the floor. And maybe you have a little bit of sense that you're turning your head to the left, which has the sense that you bring the upper back and the shoulders a little bit more towards the floor. Know that it's absolutely fine to support the shoulder if it feels really uncomfy. If it feels just, if it feels like one of those things where you think, oh, that's a big stretch, that's unusual, this is kind of a weird feeling, mostly that's okay. If when you're doing it, you're kind of holding on to tightness because you're protecting something inside that shoulder joint or somewhere around your neck, that's when you want to support the shoulder or simply not do this, okay? So be aware of that, and that really it's probably just incredibly tight because of how we spend most of our day in a forward-facing way rather than stretching the other way. Brilliant. So to come out of this, if you drag that arm that's above your head, if you sweep it above your head and round, so you end up lying on your right hand side again, and you can curl up on your right hand side. Super. And then it's a bit of a faff to wiggle yourself onto your back and over to the other side, so you end up lying on your left hand side. So once you get onto your left hand side, we're coming back to that place where your knees are level with your ball and socket joint. Your arms are out at shoulder height. Your right palm is resting in your left palm. Your head's connected with the floor or maybe resting on a pillow or a cushion. And it's 3 in the morning and you're just really pretty much half asleep, if not completely, just slightly aware of your surroundings, and you're going to drag your right hand over your left arm, over your chest, open out to angel arms, and back again. And the head rolls. So when your palms are together, you're looking at your hands. When your arms are out at angel arms, you're looking at your right hand or in that direction, letting everything roll. So turning the spine by moving the direction of the shoulders and the head. The upper part of our vertebrae is the bit that wants to rotate. It's not so much in the lower back. Very little movement into the lumbar when you're turning, much more movement higher up. Brilliant. So again, that noticing, does the head lift? Where's the tightness? Is it neck? Is it shoulders? Upper back? What's going on? Can you use the sighing out breath to let it all soften? Becoming so aware of that movement in your body, so we can ease any tension that's around the neck and the shoulders. Next time, excuse me, next time your hands come together, take a couple of in and out breaths there, letting your waistline soften down to the mat. So we ease out any tension around the lower back. and then go back to dragging the right arm again with a lovely focus on what's happening around your waist. And can you use your sighing out breath to let the waist area of your spine stay super, super, super soft. Brilliant. Next time your hands come together, changing it to the rainbow colouring in movement of taking the arm round in a big semicircle above your head. Noticing again, is it different this side? What's happening in the shoulders and the back? Breathing really slowly out as you get through that area of tightness. Moving backwards and forwards with that rainbow colouring in. You might notice as well with that dragging of the arm above your head, you can feel your muscles around the sides of your pelvis, the side of the front of your body as you sweep the arm back above your head. We're so interconnected. Whenever we move the arms around, it moves things that are connected around your abdomen, your pelvis, into your lower back. And the same with your legs. When we're moving the legs around, we're really interconnected right up to the shoulder blades. And notice that after a few of these moves, things become a little bit softer. So as you're dragging that arm above your head, taking it right the way round to angel arms to notice. Get that lovely length across the front of the chest, brilliant, and back. So next time your arms come together, then hugging your knees up as tight as you can get them in towards your body. Hold on to your legs with your left arm. Your right arm reaches up to the ceiling. And as you lower the arm above your head, the upper arm of the right arm is next to the right ear and you're rolling your upper back towards the floor. Little bit of a turn in the head over to the right will encourage the upper back to ease down. Using your out breath. Lovely. So you get this length that goes from the wrist down the inside of the arm, into the underarm, all the way down the chest, across the abdomen, and actually to the left side of the front of the pelvis. So this wonderful turning across the abdomen as well. Breathing to let go of the muscles, using that soft out breath to let everything lengthen and ease. Then when you're ready to sweeping your right arm above your head so you can roll onto your left hand side. You're curled up on your left hand side. And then gently ease yourself onto your back again. Knees bent, feet flat to the floor. Have your feet in a place where your ankles, your knees, your ball and socket joints are lined up. I know your knees are bent, but it's as if your legs are parallel. And your feet are close enough to your bottom that when you push your feet into the floor, you can feel the balls of your feet and the heels of your feet quite evenly, rather than just the heels of your feet. Have your arms dangling down by your side, everything relaxed. Your chin slightly, very slightly tucked in towards your chest, so the back of your neck feels a little bit longer. Push your feet into the floor and notice that it activates your thighs. And then begin to tilt your pelvis, a little bit like you do in cat. So as you breathe out, tilt your pelvis, push your lower back into the floor. As you breathe in, tilt your pelvis and make that little tunnel, hollow shape in your lower back. And keep that going, exploring how the back wants to move. So it doesn't have to be a big tunnel hollow in the lower back, just a little bit of movement. And as you breathe out and you push your lower back into the floor, keep pushing your feet into the floor and begin to lift your pelvis up towards the ceiling. And then breathe in and lower your pelvis back down again. As you breathe in or finish your in-breath, rock the pelvis the other way with the tunnel. Start your out-breath, push the back into the floor. Keep pushing, keep breathing out and lifting the pelvis up. Use your feet to help and then lower yourself back down again. So a few more of those, exploring the lifting and lowering of the pelvis. Push the feet into the floor. Lovely. Tilt the pelvis so you get a bit of length in your lower back as you lift. Super. Next time you lift, keep the lift and hold it there just for a couple of in and out breaths. Encourage your thighs to be parallel. Super, super tempting for the knees to wander off as if they're pointing to the corners of your mat. Encourage them to be parallel. Push your feet into the floor a little bit more, maybe a tiny lift, a notional lift of the pelvis. And then breathing in, lowering yourself back down, hugging your knees to your chest, have a little rock. And then ease yourself up to sitting. So find a comfy sitting position and tuck your right arm behind your back. Have your left fingers out, touching the floor on the left, and wander the fingers away, exploring a side bend, and wander them back and swap arms. Super. So go from one side to the other. If you want to use the breath, that's absolutely fine. So you breathe out till you bend, because you're kind of squishing, and you're squishing the lungs. So you might as well breathe out while you're squishing the lungs, and then breathe in as there's space to fill your lungs and you come back up. So as you go from one side to the other, then start to notice your pelvis, your buttock muscles on the floor. So you might lean one way and your bottom really wants to lift up. And you might go the other way and your bottom doesn't want to lift quite as much. And you start to notice, oh, hang on, one side's so much tighter than the other. Brilliant. So next time your left arm wanders out to the side, pop it down onto the floor. Then notice where the hand is, pick it up and move it a hand's length further away so that the right side of your pelvis does lift. Push the hand into the floor and gently lower the right side of the pelvis down towards the floor. It doesn't have to get there, but that's the direction of travel. Roll the right shoulder back a little bit, like you're turning the chest up to the ceiling. Take your arm up into the air, this is your right arm, and then let the arm drop back in space. Push the hand into the floor, ease the pelvis down to the floor, let the arm drop back in space, breathe. Fantastic. So breathe in, reach the arm up to the ceiling, breathe out, bring it back down, breathe in, sit yourself up tall, swap arms. Wandering the right fingers away, find that place where you've got a comfy side stretch. And then notice where your hand is, and that you can lift it and take it another hand's length further away, which means the left side of your pelvis comes up from the floor. Push the hand into the floor and lower the pelvis back down. Roll the left shoulder back a little bit, like you're turning your chest. Keep easing the pelvis down to the floor, keep breathing. Take the left arm up, reach for the ceiling, and then drop the arm back in space. Fantastic. Keep pushing the hand to the floor, pelvis working down towards the floor, arm dropping back in space, chest turning just a little bit, and don't forget to breathe. Brilliant. So next in breath, reach for the ceiling, out breath, arm comes down, in breath, bring the body back up to a sitting position. Unravel your legs, bring the soles of your feet together. And rather than moving your feet in towards you, just have a notice where they comfortably go and what's happening with the knees, because knees might be quite high, depends on what's going on in your ball and socket joint. Have a little rock, just to see how that feels. And then as you rock, slowly rock your bottom a little bit closer to your feet. To that point where you think, oh, okay, now I feel a little bit more lengthening on the inside of my thigh, and then pause there. I'm going to go sideways. So when you get here, little bit of a temptation to be here with your back. So I'd like you to hold higher up on your legs, nearer to your knees, so you can sit tall, and then bring your tummy button forwards. So not the nose and curl forwards, but the tummy button comes forwards, and then have a little bit more rock. Crown of the head lifting, tummy button moving towards the feet, a little bit of rocking, and notice then that your bottom goes a little bit closer to your feet, and then pause, sit tall, and take your tummy button towards your feet. So any of these ones where we ease about in the ball and socket joint and we're doing it from a sitting position, if you put, I don't know, those half-hour programs of things like Gardener's World, perfect. You just have 30 minutes of moving your hips around, watching something helpful. They're always good. It's a nice time to do things. So then wiggle your feet forward, take your legs out long, have a bit of a flop about. Fold your right leg to the side, bring the sole of your left foot to the right thigh, lean a little bit to the left, and then wiggle about into the right side of your pelvis. So this is that action where what it looks like from behind is that you're lifting your buttock from the floor and easing it back down. And have your foot wherever feels comfy. My foot likes to be Darcy Bustle toed, pointed away, because that suits my knee. It might not suit you, so do anything. Maybe the foot comes out to the side. I just don't find that comfy. Brilliant. Another great one for the ball and socket joints is this one. Great. Okay, so let's unravel and have a wiggle, and let's do some on the other side. So folding the left leg, bringing the sole of the right foot to that thigh and having a gentle little rock and being aware of what's going on. So if you feel anything in your knees, you need to lean to the side a little bit more, because you can then still move the ball and socket joint around without impacting down into the knee. So watch out for this rocking where the legs moving and everything sticks a little bit. Let everything rest, and then take your awareness here to that joint and tiny if those movements are really tiny, keep them really, really tiny, but just focused here. And then notice the freedom starts to happen, and then you can rock a little bit more. So we keep the focus right into that ball and socket joint area. Because if it's tight, it might not want to move very much at all. And then notice you can get a little bit more as it eases up. Brilliant. And then unravel and give everything a wiggle. While you're sitting, I'll just show you, because once most of you come down onto your tummies, I lose you completely from the screen, or I just see toes and things, which is absolutely fine, but then I'm conscious that you'll be wiggling around on the floor trying to see me. So right this way around, we're going to be here, we're going to have arms, we're going to wander in, not too far, so that's about the length of one of my hands. I'm coming in, forearms parallel, and then lifting into the upper back, and then suction pad hands, like you're trying to drag yourself along the floor forwards, and a bit more lifting, a bit more dragging, okay? Then we're going to tuck the toes and lift the knees and keep a bit of that dragging going on, okay? So that's where we're working to. So head yourself onto your mats, onto your tummy. If you reach your arms completely away in front of you, parallel, move one hand towards you so that your fingertips are level with the wrists of the other hand, and then bring the other hand in and lift your body up, forearms resting down, palms resting down. Then you're in about the right kind of lift. So tummy button's absolutely on the floor. Quite a lot of your lower ribs are absolutely on the floor, but perhaps kind of heart center chakra a little bit lower down and upwards is lifted, okay? So we've got quite a lot of support on the ribs on the floor. So if you're not sure, have a quick look. So arms, walk one hand in a hand's length, then the other one, forearms parallel, and settle yourself there. Brilliant. And maybe sighing out breath, let things be a bit heavy. So you want to have that heaviness in the front of the thighs, the front of the pelvis, the tummy button. And then think about your long horse's neck. So picture a horse where its head comes down to eat grass, and that neck works from the shoulders, not a tilting of the skull on the top of the spine. So imagine your long neck right the way down to between your shoulder blades, and lift your long neck up from your shoulder blades to the base of your skull. And then apply your suction pad hands and pull as if you're trying to drag your body forwards to get your chest through your upper arms. Lift your long horse's neck. Move your shoulder blades down your back slightly away from your ears. Lift your long horse's neck and drag your body forwards. So if you're feeling anything in your lower back, then imagine you're trying to move the back of the pelvis, this flat back part of the pelvis here. Imagine you're trying to move it to the floor. So the action of trying to move the back of the pelvis down towards the floor is going to help work the muscles that stop the lower back from feeling like it might nip. Think about your long horse's neck, dragging yourself through your upper arms. That's the direction of travel. It doesn't actually happen at all. and breathe. So we get an upper back bend. Brilliant. And then relax anywhere that feels comfy. It could be that you put one hand on top of the other and your forehead onto your hands. You might bend your knees and windscreen wipe your lower legs from side to side. Anything at all that eases. And then see how it feels to take hold of your right foot with your right hand and ease your foot towards your bottom. Be careful with your knees. And release and try the other leg. So taking hold of the foot and easing the foot towards your bottom. Super. And release and swap sides. If the foot doesn't connect with the hand, it's absolutely fine to use a strap. If you're using a strap though, don't allow the strap holding to be a means of forcing your knee joint. What I'm after you experiencing is a little bit of lengthening down the front of the leg and thigh. So we want to just notice that lengthening sensation rather than squishing a knee joint. So for those of you that are happily getting hold of your feet, you can play about with whether you want to hold both feet. Let your thighs go to any comfy position when you've got hold of both feet. Knees apart, any comfy position. Just notice where your ball and socket joint wants to rest. Brilliant. Some of you may now think about lifting your long horse's neck and pushing your feet into the palms of your hands, and your body will come up slightly more. Lift your long horse's neck, push the feet into the palm of the hands. Be careful with your lower back and then come down, release. Bring your hands under your shoulders, come to cat. When you come to cat, do some very gentle little cat moves. Because you've been lying on your tummy, that's automatically a back bend. Because you've been holding onto your feet, it's even more of a back bend. So when you do your forward bending and looking at your knees in cat, it'll feel quite strong to do that, so be gentle and kind. And then next time you breathe out, slowly take your bottom back towards your feet so you get that lovely length into the back again. And breathe in and come back up. And do one more of those. So you're pushing your hands into the mat ahead of you and easing your tail, really reaching it behind, not worrying about whether it gets to your feet, but enjoying that length. Lovely. And then come back to cat. So when you get back to cat, have your wrists directly underneath your shoulders, knees directly underneath your ball and socket joints. Take your right leg away behind you, lift the leg to hip height. Push your right hand into the floor and float your left arm up next to your left ear. Notice. Keep pushing the right hand into the floor. Reach the right heel away behind you. Reach the left fingers ahead of you. Brilliant. Bring the hand down, bring the knee down. You might have a little shimmy of your bottom back towards your heels and then shimmy back again. So check, wrists are under shoulders, push the index finger side of your hands down so the insides of your elbows face one another. Left leg down the mat, lift it to hip height. Push the left hand into the floor, float the right arm up next to the right ear. Push the index finger side of the hand down. Brilliant. Breathe, holding that there. And bring the hand down. Bring the knee down, have a little shimmy. And then come back to cat. So hands underneath your shoulders, knees underneath your ball and socket joints. Right leg goes down the mat, lift it to hip height. Push the right hand into the mat, float up the left arm. Breathe. So think about long horse's neck lifting. Lift the head, lift the gaze, look forwards. Take the left arm up into the air and sweep it up towards the ceiling and then back round by your side and bring it down to the floor. And then bring the knee down. And let's try the other side. So taking the left leg away behind you, lifting it to hip height. Push the left hand into the mat, float the right arm up next to your right ear. So think long horse's neck lifts, the gaze looks forwards, take the arm up, sweep it away behind you by your side and then back down to the mat and bring your knee down. One more of those to each side, so take the right leg away behind you, float the left arm up. And then think about that very considered movement of lifting the long horse's neck, the gaze, sweeping the arm up. It goes away behind you, down by your side and then to the floor again. Wonderfully controlled. And then bring the knee back. Always find to have a little shimmy of your pelvis back to your feet in between to loosen everything off that gets a bit tight. And have a go to the other side, so it's your left leg that goes down the mat and lifts, and it's your right arm that's going to sweep. Fantastic. And a little shimmy afterwards if you want to. I love that we have a little black cat wandering around on a screen while we do cat, because we should watch the little cat move about, because a little cat, you know, they curl around, don't they? They don't ever just arrive into their place where they want to lie down and plonk and just abandon themselves. They spend ages wandering around and moving and deciding where their legs are going to go and how their paws tuck and all the rest of it. So we explore that ourselves and just ease about and find a bit of comfort. So just while you're sitting, have a quick watch. Legs going to go away behind you. Simply going to bend the knee and let the foot drop towards the bottom. And then bring the knee down. And let's try that on each side. So come back to cat. Hands are underneath your shoulders. Take your right leg away behind you. Lift it to hip height, keep the knee level with your pelvis and then simply bend your knee and drop your heel towards your bottom, keeping the knee up at hip height. Lovely. And then bring the knee back into cat position and try the other leg. So lifting to hip height. Because we know where that is, then simply bending the knee and let the heel drop towards your bottom. Keep the knee lifted. It's dead tempting to let it drop. Super. And then bring the knee back. So now you can bring the two together. Okay? So you can take your leg away behind you, bend the knee, bring the arm up, sweep, lift your long horse's neck, sweep the arm away behind you to find the foot. So it's opposite arm, opposite leg, finding the foot, and then release. Come back down, have a little shimmy, and then try the other side. Okay? And as you're lifting the body up and sweeping that arm, think about everything always extending away as it reaches and sweeps, rather than any nipping sensation in your back. Brilliant. Make sure you have a go to each side. Opposite arm, opposite leg. Keep that knee lifted. Sweeping the arm over. It's always going to be tricky, particularly if your knees are a bit dodgy and thighs are tight. Be careful with your back. Brilliant. Make sure you have a little shimmy and a wiggle in between. So it's called cat dancer, that one. We can do our cat dancer into more of a balance if we want to by taking the same arm and same leg. So the trade-off is it's more of a balance, but then the positive trade-off is it's easier to find your foot. Okay. So that, you know, that's kind of the way the world of yoga works, isn't it? There's always that bit of a trade-off. So same leg, and then you want to get your arm up and round and find the foot. So completely different shape, and you can keep turning and turning and turning and lifting if you want to, but of course you're balancing on the same side, like a tram line, whereas earlier you'd got a knee and a hand in kind of opposite corners of a square, so it makes it easier for balance, whereas the other way around you've got your hand and your knee in the corners of the same side of the square. So have a play with that, because it's quite nice just to see. Like I say, there's that trade-off of maybe feeling like you can find your foot more easily, but then having to work at that wonderful balance. Just notice, where does the hand and the knee need to be? Maybe slightly different position, because as you're leaning into that hand and that leg, you're just working at, right, where do I want to be with my, does my leg come up first? Do I kind of bend my knee a little bit and turn a little bit, and then find the foot a little bit? Then find my balance here, and then move a little bit more. You can go in various stages. Explore. Also notice that as you're trying to find your foot and balance, you might be holding your breath. So steady yourself with your breath, because at some point when the breath catches up with you, if you've been holding it, it makes you wobble again. Brilliant. So when you've had a little play about on both sides, make sure you come to a comfy counter pose with your back. So your back has been in a back bend. So there are a few different options. You could come, if your knees are happy for you to be in child. Child's an option, arms down by your side, because you get a forward bend from your tailbone to your back of your head, and you get a forward bend across from your right shoulder to your left shoulder. But that's only any good if your knees are happy to be there. Other option is to sit on your bottom with your knees out in front of you, your legs, sorry, in front of you, knees bent, and dangle forwards and be here, because then you're not squishing your knees, but you still get this lovely forward bending action in the spine after it's back bending. And it's working with gravity, just softening the back forwards. Coming to this sitting position as well is also quite nice if you simply like to have a bit more space for breathing, because you can move your knees apart. because sometimes child isn't where you want to go because it feels a little bit claustrophobic. So be in the place where you want to, and then settle yourself into your relaxation position. Because you've been working into your spine quite a bit, possibly it will feel quite nice to have your legs up. So legs on a chair, legs on a bed, legs on a sofa, settling and easing. Come to your comfy relaxation position, arms and legs anywhere that feels right for you. As long as your lower back feels like it can completely let go, then it's the right place for you. Softening the breath, take the breath into the abdomen so you notice that you can very deliberately let it soften, let it slow. A little bit longer in and out breath. Enjoying your quiet time in your relaxation until you hear the sound of my voice again. Allow your focus to return to your physical body. Noticing yourself in the position that you're in, the supports that you have underneath you. In your mind's eye, picturing yourself in your room and what's around you, so that when you stretch and ease and move, moving with awareness to avoid bumping into anything, taking your time, taking care to ease yourself gently back.